Hey, welcome to Candidly Speaking with Chelle and Kelle. I'm Kelle.
And I am Brian.
Not Chelle.
No, I'm not.
Our Miss Chelle is having an exciting evening. As we speak, she's closing on her home. So congratulations, Chelle. We cannot wait for the housewarming party. Yeah. Let us know. So today I am so lucky and honored to have Brian step in and be my co-host for tonight's edition of Chelle and Kelle. Brian, thank you so much. Let's tell the world a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brian Monahan. I work in the live event industry, and I work for an organization, Prestige AV and Creative Services. Also an author, and enjoy helping people get clear about their message and show up on stages, not just to make them, but to present from them. And just love being around people like Kelle and Chelle and all the wonderful people that they bring on this show.
Lots of fun, lots of fun. So normally Chelle and I will discuss some kind of beauty tip right now, but I don't have one. Do you have one, Brian?
Well, I was at the dermatologist before vacation, and that wasn't a good timing on my part. But she did say that the beauty tip is, I said, is this something I should be concerned about? And she said, no, but you could get it removed via laser, but save up until you have 5 or 6 of them and have them do it all at once. So that's my tip.
I love it.
Save up your birth spots, get them removed all at once.
You've just helped the world be more efficient with the removal of those dots.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's actually some pretty good advice. So I'm kind of sad because this is our last show from the Over the Pond edition. So we've had some fun guests, and tonight is no exception to the rule. David Rogers is probably one of my faves. Don't tell Michael Heppel that, okay?
Oh no, we won't tell him.
I met him through Write That Book and Team 17 with Michael Heppel, and he is just a dynamite guy. His business, he's a strategic business leader. He's an international author now, and that's how I gained to know him. He's an enterprise advisor, and he's just an amazing, fun guy. And we're going to learn a lot about his business, but we're also going to learn a lot about being fit and fabulous and fired up. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's introduce David Rogers.
Woo!
Bruce?
Are we going to talk about our sponsors first?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Bruce is like, you better.
Well, first let's say hi to Teresa. I was so nervous about doing the introduction because I don't normally do it. It just threw me all off. So yes, we have sponsors. We have Blue Sky Video Productions. The voice that sounded like God, that was Bruce, and he keeps our show together, and he makes all of this look totally professional.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of running the show and being a sponsor. We're not going to miss the sponsorship, Bruce.
Especially, he's like, wait, Kellen. Like I said, I'm all messed up because I don't usually do the introduction. And then we have Goodwin Graphics, Ronnie Goodwin. He's our good friend, and he is at cottonfeelsgood.com. He does amazing t-shirts. He's going to be doing our t-shirts for the show. And if you are a guest on our show, you will get a special edition Candidly Speaking with Chelle and Kelle t-shirt. So that's something fun to look forward to. And finally, Cards That Wow. That's me. Good thing I'm not Introductions That Wow, because I would be losing it there. So Cards That Wow, I like to help you make your brand or your personal or your business brand stand out by my handmade note cards and custom made frames, branded frames. So cardsthatwow.com is the Groundhog Day. Yes, that was a fun one. Okay, so now do I have to say that again, Bruce, or can we just go to the... Okay, I'm going to leave now.
Oh dear, Kellen.
I know. David, thank you for being here at midnight.
Yes, it is five past midnight in the UK at the moment.
Yeah, it's a late night for you, but I'm glad that you could be here so our guests can learn all about you, your business, you've recently started a new position, right? Recently, kind of, not like last week, but within.
So the business I work in, so I'm head of finance in the UK. So that's probably the equivalent of a VP of finance, probably in the States, I would have thought, for a hospitality business. So pubs, restaurants, hotels here in the UK. One of the largest ones in the UK. Company called Marston's PLC. So I've been doing the role I'm in currently for about 12, 14 months. And obviously, as you guys will have experienced over there in the States, it's been an interesting time the last 2 years for everybody, in particular the hospitality industry. And we've been closed and then reopened and then closed down again and then reopened again. And we've been lucky that we've now been open for nearly coming up to 12 months again out here in the UK, which has been fantastic because it's really starting to show signs of recovery. People are getting back out and about, and we've just had one of our biggest trading days over here because it was Mother's Day in the UK on Sunday just gone. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of the first big day sort of we've had where there's been no real disruption, as it were, from COVID. So yeah, great.
That's great. We got Randy Chafee.
Oh, hi Randy.
You were just recently on his show, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was about 3-4 weeks ago. I was with Randy. Yeah, fantastic. Hi Audrey.
And Audrey. Oh, I miss Audrey. That's one thing about Team 17 and the Write That Book Masterclass. I love that we had our weekly get-togethers, and they've everybody's gotten busy, so they haven't quite as often. So yeah, hi Audrey, thanks for stopping by. And then Eric Bam is wearing bedazzled pants. Someday I want a picture of that, Eric.
I don't.
Yeah. That's funny. So we met, like I said, was it Team 17 or was it Write That Book?
I think it was Write That Book originally. So it would have been November 2020, wouldn't it? I think.
Wow.
So, yeah. When we started Write That Book originally, yeah.
What made you want to write that book? First, let's talk about the book.
Yeah, so it started off actually as part of Michael Heppel's 17 project. So I was part of. So winding back a few years, I met Michael when Michael did some customer service training at the company I was working for at the time. Carried on following Michael and his stuff just before the lockdown happened in the UK in February of 2020. I think it was. He launched the How to Be Brilliant group. Saw that, joined that, got to know everybody. That morphed into a pop-up group during the summer where I was sharing recipes I was cooking, the exercises I was doing, a bit of personal development stuff. At the time, somebody said, "Oh, you ought to write a book." I had no intention of writing a book at that point. That would have been July, I think, 2020. So fast forward 3-4 months and signed up to the Write That Book pop-up challenge for the week. By the end of the week, I'd got the title of the book, the front cover designed. I'd won Michael writing the foreword for my book.
You won that.
Yeah, so it was like, well, I suppose I better write this book now. So that's there's another lovely picture of me with my book and a quote from Michael from the foreword of the book as well. So that's sort of what it was. And it was about really sharing, as it was during the summer, it was just sharing stuff that I'd done on my own sort of personal health journey, whether it be physical, mental, emotional health, and a bit about a little bit of the basics of the neuroscience behind it, a bit about habit forming, a bit about fueling your body, which started off as effectively cooking and recipes and then morphed into something even bigger than that, as you know, Kellen, in terms of how you sleep, how you breathe, how you're clearing your mind, and just in general energizing yourself to keep yourself fit and then get fired up for whatever want to do with your life. You know, as you alluded to at the start with the intro, I've got a lot of things that I do outside of work. So actually, you know, it gives me the energy to keep going with all of those things about giving back and supporting others and helping people, really.
Mm-hmm. No, I especially enjoyed the recipes that you shared on your Instagram page.
Yeah.
I just thought, food is supposed to look like that? Well, any of you that know me know that I don't cook, and my food doesn't look like that normally. But some of the recipes I did try, and they actually, I mean, even somebody like me could create a very healthy and tasty meal. So I really love that, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for trying those recipes. I would love to take credit for all of those recipes, but as with most of the stuff that I've done, it's, you know, using cookbooks, you know, the people's recipes. But I really took a conscious effort, probably back in the end of 2019, middle of 2019, to start cooking more fresh food.
Mm-hmm.
And move away from, you know, packaged stuff. So I made sure that all of the recipes that I do has got a lot of what I would call scratch cooking, and, you know, doing things from scratch, fresh vegetables and things. I tend to do a lot of the food that I do because both my wife and I are, well, my wife's vegetarian, I'm predominantly plant-based in my diet, so it just makes it easier to do all of the fresh cooking, really, when you've sort of got that basis. So yeah.
And you've got a lot of motivation on your Instagram page too. It's very
Yes, thanks, Brian. It was that was a conscious effort, really, off the back of writing the book and starting as you know, Kellen, we know a lot of the Facebook stuff, Instagram stuff, Twitter stuff has all started from the book, really, and I've just kept that going. And there's an organisation here in the UK called Action for Happiness, who have a motivational calendar each month, which is effectively the stuff that I share in terms of those. Whether it be motivational quotes or, you know, so we're just coming up to active April, so it's all about, you know, keeping active, getting outside, exercising, all of those sort of things, and just enjoying life outside as the weather gets better, albeit it's been quite horrible in the UK today. It's been raining and all sorts, and we're supposed to be getting snow apparently.
Oh,
so
wow.
or I think some people might already have had snow in the UK today, or due it tomorrow. So but ordinarily at this time of year, it is quite nice to get out in the spring weather.
So what's the story on all the plant-based meats today, or whatever you call those? Do they fit into the equation?
Yeah, to be honest, they do. I mean, I think this is quite an interesting debate around, you know, I think my view is that we didn't become vegetarian or plant-based for, I suppose, for want of a better phrase, ethical reasons. It was more health reasons. So actually, there's a bit of for us around actually the texture of some of those plant-based products is so much better now. I think they're actually an American company called Moving Mountains. I think they might be called that do a fantastic, you know, burger patty. We've got a lot of our meat producers, you know, traditional sort of meat producers who are now doing a lot more plant-based products, and I think you can get some really good products that create the texture of meat. So whether it be using, I don't know, tofu instead of chicken, or you can get some really good mushroom mince for using for, you know, lasagnas or spaghetti bolognese, or, you know, all those sort of things. So I think for me, we use those sort of products because they're a lot better than they used to be when you think about what, you know, vegetarian you know, sort of meals would have been like back in the day, or even back in, you know, 15-16 years ago when I first started in hospitality. And sort of it was, you know, the vegetarian options were a veggie lasagna, a margarita pizza, and, you know, maybe one other. Whereas actually now there's quite a great range of foods on offer. Both
bean burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer banjo beans too. I use that in a lot of
Yeah.
use that for a lot of salads and stuff like that. So and
Yeah.
baked tuna and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I still eat fish, so I'm technically, I suppose, pescatarian, but majority of my diet's plant-based. So yeah.
so what was the coolest reaction you got from somebody that bought your book? Like they sent you a message and said, "Hey, David, I got your book and."
Oh, that's a really good one, actually. I've got to admit, it was quite cool. Another mutual friend of ours, Joe Williams, bought a copy and gifted it to Jeffrey Gittimer, and getting sent a photo of Jeffrey with my book was like, that was a little bit of a wow moment.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy, who Randy's been a huge support. And sent me some quite cool, messages about some of the stuff I've been sharing. Yeah, I think it's really strange that I still don't, it's really bizarre, but you sort of get to a point where you sort of forget that you've become an author almost. And that might sound really, really strange. And I don't know whether you found that, Brian, that sort of all of a sudden a picture, so that my book's been out for nearly 12 months now. So every time I see somebody now with a copy, I'll go, "Oh wow, someone else has bought the book," and you sort of like go, almost every time I see somebody. But actually, I think probably the coolest thing I've seen is I gift a lot of copies of my book. I leave them in random places when we're traveling around the UK. And I left a copy in one of the parks in London. When I went down to see some of our fellow Team 17 members, we had a bit of a get together with a few people, and I thought I'll leave a couple of copies in London, and somebody actually, tagged me into them finding my book, which was quite cool, because the whole idea of, the book is to help people, so I try and sort of help by giving away free copies. So that was quite cool as well.
I love that.
How did it feel to finish the book? Like what kind of feeling did that provide you?
Yeah, it was really, again, I think I found it a little bit bizarre in the sense of sort of, you go through the process of writing, and I self-published. I did everything myself. So I edited, typeset, designed the cover, did it all on Amazon KDP. So there was almost that sense of accomplishment, like there would be if I was doing a project around the house or doing a project at work or something like that. But then actually, when you press that button to go publish, and it's out in the big wide world, and actually and Michael mentions this quite a lot about this. It's going to be there forever, and it's going to be there for well after I've gone. Kids have gone, grandkids have gone. It's there forever, and it's like that. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm an author, and then when you start, as you say, selling copies, and I don't know whether anybody else who's self-published on KDP or any other of the self-publishing platforms, but you can't help but like keep checking the sales charts and like how many copies have I sold? Refresh. And I found myself, I think it was last week, like checking just out of curiosity more than anything, and going and feeling, you get this feeling of going, oh well, I've sold another copy, and then like that's the first copy I've sold for, like, I don't know, let's say 2 weeks, but I still get the same feeling with the, I don't know how many, I don't even know how many copies I've sold. It's probably a couple of hundred, something like that, but that I still get the same feeling of, copy 200 as I do, and as you said before we started the show, Brian, you kindly bought my book, today, and I got the same feeling as I would have done when Kellen shared hers, or I first got it. Yeah, it's the feeling of accomplishment, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Did you feel any pressure, like when you released it? Like, hey, especially I'm thinking maybe people well, like when they read this book, are they going to be like, what?
Um,
Like, was there any, or did you feel really confident about what you put together?
um, I wouldn't say I felt confident about it, but I felt that I think the thing with it is, as Kellen all know, going through the process of the Write That Book masterclass is, it's an incredibly supportive group of individuals. And one of the great things that we were able to do was, I shared every single one of my chapters with at least 2 people within the group to sort of give me feedback on it, constructive, positive, whatever feedback they gave me. So I sort of almost felt like I'd already got sort of, whatever it is, 30 people who felt good about the book. So I sort of went, well, hopefully I could sell at least 30 copies then. Yeah, but if I sold 1 copy, I would have been happy. And to be fair, everybody, some of the reviews I've got on Amazon are fantastic. The general feedback about the books being great, and I think it's one of those things where, it's not. When you write a book, it's not necessarily, you're not writing it for everybody, or you've set that goal to write it for a certain group of people, and hopefully those people that do pick it up and read it go, well, I really like that. There's some great ideas, and if one person takes one thing out of the book, then as far as I'm concerned, I've done what I set out to achieve, really. And I think there was more pressure about actually just getting it completed for the deadline I'd set myself, rather than any pressure about what the feedback was going to be about it, because it was sort of like, well, I'm a published author, don't moan about my book if you're not a published author, sort of, sort of that approach to it. So
I know that not that I can hold it up because I can't find it.
I can hold it up for you if you want.
I've been reading it, and what I love about it's so easy to read, and it's perfect for like someone like me with ADHD, where my attention span is like very short. And I just love the way it's written. It's reader friendly. It's got great ideas, and it's got me fired up.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things I wanted to do. Was there was and I talk about it in the book. Actually, there was a lot of it for me about this was for want of a better phrase, a normal book written by a normal bloke. And that's what I was very keen to do, was saying, like, I've tried everything. As I say to everybody, I've tried every technique that I write about in the book. Some of them stick for me, some of them didn't. But I wanted to share everything with everybody because something might stick for somebody else, because we're all different. I wanted to try and make sure the chapters were as relatively short as possible, but with enough content, to your point, Kellen, about somebody being able to pick it up and go, actually, I'm going to flick to chapter 7 and read chapter 7, and I don't necessarily need to have read chapters 1 to 6.
The beauty of it. I didn't have to read page 1 through the end. I could just certain points. I was like, I need to do this now, and I would go right to that chapter, and you could just pick it up at any chapter and find that little help or that nudge that you need.
Yeah,
I just love it.
Thank you.
So we talked a little bit about food, and I saw your Instagram. How does fitness fit into this book? Is the fit the result of the fuel, or do you have a fitness bent on it?
No, so there is a fitness sort of bend on it. So it talks about sort of not necessarily that there are exercises in the book, and I talk about exercise, but it's more about the techniques to try and find what works for you. So so it could be things like so for example, it took me a while after I stopped playing soccer, as you would call it over in the States, when I was in my sort of mid-30s. I really struggled to find something to keep myself physically fit at that point, because I'd been playing team sports for so long. So I tried running, and I trained and ran a half marathon, and then almost stopped running as soon as I finished that I'd set myself the goal of doing the half marathon. I did it, and then it was like, oh, okay, I've got nothing to work towards. I then tried a bit of cycling, and then I came across I high intensity interval training, so HIIT training, and so the body coach over here in the UK, Joe Wicks, so I sort of started following his sort of exercise plans. But it was more about, I then realised that it was about finding something that I was energized by and passionate about, and that's what triggered the whole habit forming of like, well, actually, if I plan when I'm going to exercise and what exercises I'm going to do, that keeps me in that rhythm of exercising. And I talk about a technique in the book called Beat the Week, which Michael mentions sometimes as well, and that's just about having, I suppose, effectively more good days than bad. So, you know, if you're exercising 4 out of 7 days, you beat the week, and it's that sort of premise of using the, to your point, using the fuel, how you're fueling your body, whether it be what you're eating, staying hydrated, sleeping correctly, breathing correctly, all of those sort of things. But actually, that allows you to create the momentum to keep yourself fit. So, yeah.
I wrote down power your results, but I have the note in my book, which I can't find. Can we talk about powering your results?
Yeah.
It was I'm like, okay, why did I write this down? Speaking of ADHD.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you should have written more down, shouldn't you, Kellen? That's what it was.
I did. It's in the book.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. So so sort of pairing your results is it's about sort of making sure that, you know, you're doing everything you possibly can do to get the results that you want, and creating that fired up sort of, you know, approach to you know, and I talk about it again. I talk about it in the book. You know, the whole you know, Obama story about fired up, ready to go, and that sort of, and it's that sort of you know, pairing your results through you know, sort of one small change, marginal gains, all those things, all of a sudden exponentially, whether it be your dieting eating healthily, your fitness, business, whatever that might be. It's about creating that momentum and using some of the techniques, planning, preparation, beating the week, you know, task orientated, all of those sort of things. Just, yeah, for me, that's what pairing results is all about.
That's exactly the answer I was looking for.
Good. So,
and it's after midnight your time. I mean, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I know. It's all the coffee I've been drinking since about like 10 o'clock this morning, our time, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, I take my own advice and I'm all fired up here at midnight.
At midnight.
There you go.
It is quite funny that you sort of say that. So there's a lot of people about it. So because the book's obviously about predominantly sort of health and fitness and you know, mental health and stuff. There is then that, I suppose, when you mentioned pressure earlier, Brian, and there's that bit about, well, actually, there is part of it that I've written the book also to keep myself on track and keep myself accountable, because there's a bit of like, well, you can't write about it and then not, you know, not sort of try and follow what you're writing about and how you're trying to help others. But the thing I like about this sounds really, really what's the word I'm looking for? Not big-headed, but there's a bit that I'll read it and go, well, there's some really good advice in this book. I really ought to follow it. And I'm the sort of, and I'm going, yeah, but you wrote it, Dave. So actually, you need to sort yourself out a little bit sometimes. And I think that's, again, to your point, Kellen, that was one of the reasons for writing the book, was you can just go to it and go, right, actually, I recognise that I'm saying this at, you know, midnight, and I'm talking about, like, you know, I'm about to say, like, you know, worrying about my sleep pattern and what does my sleep look like and all of those sort of things. You sort of go, well, actually, right, I can get myself back on track by following the advice that I've written about in the book. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you know, when you share your ideas like that, you feel a certain, you know, to be in integrity with your words. You want to live up to your own words, and so
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And you know, as in Team 17 that Kellen and I are both part of, it's the accountability groups that we used to have, and it's about as soon as you share, as soon as you share something verbally with people, you sort of go, well, actually, right, I've got to follow through with that. So as soon as I committed to, whether it be writing the book or doing a project or something, whenever that is, it's that integrity of following through and having the support network as well around you to be able to do it.
Right, and you don't want to have to go back to those 4 people and say, "Well, I didn't really do it."
No.
Right? I mean, you don't want
exactly,
to go back
that's
to
it.
that. You're like,
No.
the last thing you want to do is go check into that meeting and say, "Oh yeah."
That's exactly it. Exactly it.
One thing I've noticed in my life is when you have to teach somebody something, you have to become a master of it. And so, like, probably the process of you actually saying, how do I distill this into something that people can understand? You have to, like, take it up a notch. Like, the learning of that is just.
Well, it's I mean, again, it's one of the things that I write about in the book as well, is about how actually one of the best ways to learn stuff is to teach it. Because of that exact point, is that you realize what the real key points are that you want to get across. And as you say, I think from memory, I think the book's around 43,500 words, but when I finished the first draft of it, it was 60,000, I think. And then you start reading through it and sharing, and all of a sudden you start, as you say, distilling it down into what the real key messages are. And then you start talking about it with people, and I can remember it's probably been about 12 months since I was on with you, Kellen. Originally talked when I first spoke about the book, and you sort of start realizing actually, there's you need to think about this and talking about the book, and as you say, learning about new techniques, and there's stuff I've learned since I've written the book as well about some of the things, and it's almost like, oh, actually, there's a lot more. It starts a whole thought process as well. I found writing the book.
Do your colleagues know that you've written a book?
Yeah. A few of them have bought
like a star. They're like, oh. Well,
I wouldn't have gone that far. But I mean, it is good. There's a lot of people I know who've bought the book. My work colleagues, friends. People have asked me to sign copies, and it's just a little bit, that's just a little bit bizarre that people want me to sign copies of my book, but that's it's just good. It's just good. People are, for me, it's not so much about people buying the book, it's about people, to your point, Kellen, about reading it and finding something useful in it, and that was what it was all about, really. The crux of writing the book was about helping people.
Yeah, because somebody's not going to just go, well, some people may, but especially in my elder age, I can't just jump in and do everything at once. So I just picked the parts that I knew I could do, and like to check that off and move to the next thing and check that off. And it's been I've been successful with it. So I'm really happy.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing as well, is that, again, probably going back to the fitness point, it actually is that a lot of people are guilty of just throwing themselves into it, 100 miles an hour, 100% of the time, and that's when it doesn't work. Because if you think about, I don't know, I'll go back to me training for a half marathon. If I went out and decided, right, I'm going to go and run 13 miles now as my first run, when I hadn't run for 6 months, one, I'm not going to do 13 miles, and two, I'm probably going to injure myself and then not be able to, so it's that sort of principle of taking things slowly and building yourself up, and realizing that actually, to get sustainable results and sustainable habits, you have to do it slowly, and going back to that point about marginal gains, and
when it takes time to develop
exponential results. Yeah, exactly.
You can't develop a habit in 3 days.
No.
Yeah, you're gonna as quick as you ramp it up, you're probably going to lose it.
Yeah, and I think that's why you see a lot of I can't remember the statistic now, but it's something along the lines of 60% of New Year's resolutions have been broken by the middle of February.
I think you're giving way too much credit.
To be fair, probably there'll be somebody watching this who'll go, "You've just made that up, Dave, off the top." It's something. There's a high percentage of it, because what happens is, to your point, Brian, is that people will go, right, I'm going to cut everything out on January the 1st. I'm going to cut everything out of my diet. I need to lose weight. Whereas actually, going back to my point about beat the week, is actually, if you like potato chips, it's okay to eat potato chips. Just don't eat 2 bags every day. You can still have a bag of potato chips. You can still have a chocolate bar. I still eat crisps. I still eat chocolate. I still eat. Have chocolate brownies and all that sort of stuff. I just don't have as many as I used to. You can still have stuff that you like, that as a treat, I suppose, because there's. I think again in the book I talk about, it's 20. There's 21 meal times if you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and actually one bad meal isn't causing you a problem. Right. It's when you're having 17 bad meals that's causing the problem. And if you can flip that on its head and make it so that it's 4 bad meals a week, right, actually you will see those results, and it's about building up to that.
So I have a question for both of you. Is there a food that you just cannot eat one of? Is there something you just like? Some people say, well, just have 2 cookies or a little bite of chocolate. Is there something that you can't do that with?
I think mine would have to be. I think mine's probably chocolate. So I don't drink alcohol. No, that's not strictly true. I drink low alcohol drinks now, and when I cut full alcohol drinks out of my diet, I really thought I'd struggle with that, and that I'd be okay cutting chocolate out. And actually, it's been the other way around. The alcohol's being a lot easier than I expected it to be, but chocolate's still my voice, as it were, when it comes to food, I think.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah, Eric Bam's going to like this one. Pizza. I mean, I can medium pizza. That's all mine. I can do it. I can't stop.
I can't buy Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts are my kryptonite. I could eat the whole box of them. So I'm like, I don't even buy them anymore. It's just goodbye. Never having them again. Never.
Yeah. I think, and I think also there's you have Pringles, aren't you, in the US?
Yeah.
Crisps. Yeah. So Pringles are perhaps another one as well, because they're, as the advert says, once you pop, you just can't stop, can you? It's it's once that tube's open, it's they've all got to go in one sitting, I think.
It doesn't matter if you lose the lid, because you're not going to be using it.
No, exactly, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, soft pretzels I can eat.
Oh yeah.
There's a little bakery by us that sells soft pretzels, and then they're like 2 for 1, or buy one get one free. I'm like, don't give me the second one, because I'm gonna eat it.
Oh, gosh.
You're my pusher.
Let's see, Brian, do you have any other questions? Or I didn't want to.
Not necessarily. I mean, this has been very enjoyable, David. I love the premise of your book. I'm looking forward to getting it myself. It's very timely for me. I am definitely focused on some of this. So, and I'm just getting started. So I'll have to report back at our next.
Definitely. Yeah. Feel free to drop me a message. I'd love to hear what you think of the book.
That's awesome. Well, and by the way, it's very good deal here on Amazon right now.
Yes.
In the US, $5.26. I mean, geez, Pete, that's a bargain.
It's because he's on our show. He's lowered the price.
Special deal.
I don't know. I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing that they've got a lot of stock that they're needing to get rid of in the States by the sounds of it.
It's just a special deal for the Chelle and Kelle viewers. So.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we should run this sponsorship next week, right? You know.
So, David, I'm sure, because it seems like all of my UK people have been discussing this last question, and it's something that we ask all our guests, and even with Michelle not being here, we're going to ask the question. Are you ready?
Yes.
So what is your moisturizer of choice?
Well, you see, now because I'm the last guest and I knew this question was coming, I've actually come prepared with my moisturizer of choice, which is Nivea for men.
Somebody else uses
there you
Nivea.
go.
I wonder if
So,
is it Richard? I think Richard uses Nivea.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, very nice. Because Michael Himmelblau wins the award for the most expensive moisturizer.
Yes.
Like $5 an ounce or something like that. So yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem at all.
Is that something special for the beard, or how does that work?
No. To be honest, no, it's not. It's it's just something I've used for quite a number of years now. But yeah.
Okay, well, it's keeping you youthful looking. So
I hope so.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being here tonight and staying up late and sharing
your
wisdom with our viewers. If you like what you saw tonight, please subscribe and share this out. You can watch us here on Facebook. You can watch us on YouTube, your choice. Be sure to subscribe. We need to thank our sponsors. I'm not going to forget this time. Blue Sky Video Productions, our producer, Bruce Himmelblau, who makes all this seem so seamless. We have Ronnie Goodwin Graphics. He's our t-shirt sponsor, and Cards That Wow. For any time you need something to make your client wow, make sure you send me an email. Brian, thank you so much for being my guest host tonight. You were amazing.
My pleasure.
And I hope you had fun. And everybody, we're getting back to the United States guests next week. So make sure you tune in next week, and we're going to have another great show for you guys. So thanks everybody for tuning in.